So thanks very much, Karen. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to begin.
Thank you very much for having me along today to talk to you and give me the opportunity to talk to you on the subject of menstrual health and menopause. I think one of the things I want to say before I start is we are not completely perfect at Swindon Borough Council, and so none of this is saying that what we're doing is perfect, that we've got it all right. But what we are doing is we're trying really, really hard to make sure that we're doing the right thing for all of our colleagues in the workplace. So I think making menstruation and menopause a really inclusive subject that people aren't afraid to talk about or embarrassed to talk about will help to make an organisation a great place to work, because it gives colleagues, employees the confidence and, more importantly, the permission to ask for help and support if they do need it. We know that inadequate menstrual health and education in the UK contributes to delayed and poor treatment for related disorders. So things like endometriosis, I can't say this, endometriosis, I can't say the word. And we know that period poverty is a real issue in the UK as well. And as the cost of living continues to bite, a recent ActionAid poll revealed that 21% of people, that's more than 1 in 5 women and people who menstruate in the UK, are now struggling to afford period products. And that's gone up 12% in just 1 year, which is quite a scary statistic. And before we sort of go any further, I also want to say a word about gender identity. We know that employees have and colleagues have diverse gender identities, but when talking about menstruation and experiencing the menopause during this session, I am going to use the word woman, and I will use the pronouns she and her. But I do acknowledge, as I'm sure everybody does, that it directly affects anybody who has a menstrual cycle, including non-binary, intersex and trans people. So it's not my intention during this very short session to generalize or diminish anybody's personal experiences. So what do the numbers say? In the interest of time, because I know we haven't got a lot this morning, I'm not going to read everything on the slide. I think they'll be on the recording. You'll get to see it. You'll get to see it afterwards. But one of the things I would say is we know, sort of certainly in local government, we know that women make up over 70% of our workforce, and that 3/4 of women are in the age group 40 to 64, which means that a significant proportion of our workforce will be experiencing symptoms of the menopause. If we take that forward, we roll that back a number of years, we know that menstruation will be impacting a lot of people as well. So the one thing I would throw out at you is about understanding your workforce demographics. So really think about what your workforce looks like, and the importance of looking at this as a topic based on the structure of your people. But we know that menopause symptoms can have a really significant impact on women in the workplace, and we know that it affects their performance. Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development survey reported that 2/3, so 67% of working women between the ages of 40 and 60 who are experiencing menopause symptoms say that it has a significant negative impact on them at work. And over half of those people surveyed, so 53%, said that they'd taken sick leave because of their symptoms. A fifth of women said their menopause symptoms had a negative effect on their career progression. So once their symptoms began, their career progression took a nosedive down. I think the worst one of the lot is the fact that around about 20% of women have actually considered leaving work due to a lack of support in relation to their symptoms, with a further 6% actually walking out the doors and giving up. So no matter what we think, the numbers prove that it really is a significant issue for employers to be considering. So why should we do something? What is the real reasons for getting behind this? It will have a positive impact across the whole business. I think, coming from an employee relations background, I always think that if you do things right for different groups of people, then that means that other people can see that you're treating people properly, and that should something go wrong or should they need support, they feel a lot more confident that you'll be supportive to them as well. But doing the right thing actually does support an inclusive culture. So demonstrating that understanding and support fosters that culture of inclusivity, where all employees can start to feel valued and respected regardless of their age or their gender. Helps with retention. So by implementing supportive policies and practices, organisations can increase retention rates, because as employees feel more valued and supported, then they're more likely to stay. So you don't run into the costs of losing and having to go through those very expensive recruitment processes. It supports employee performance. So providing all the right resources and accommodations can help people manage their symptoms in the workplace. So things like the hot flashes, fatigue and mood swings, all of those things, if people are able to manage that within their working day, it helps to enhance somebody's performance at work and their productivity. So from a purely selfish employer view, it benefits us as well as the individual. Does reduce absence and sickness. So if we can offer flexibility, understanding and support, employers can help employees manage their symptoms more effectively, which means they don't need to take that time off to look after themselves, because they're able to find the time in the day because of the accommodations that you're making or the adjustments that we're making. Talked about recruitment costs a little bit. It does reduce recruitment costs, because creating that menstruation and menopause friendly workplace can help with your reputation in the community as an employer of choice, and it helps us to attract and retain talent without the need for frequent recruitment drives because of high turnover rates. And I guess the other one is about reducing the risk of employee relations issues, because if you proactively address menopause related challenges and menstruation related challenges, and you are providing that supportive employment environment, we can mitigate the actual opportunity of legal challenges or conflicts related to discrimination or inadequate support. So not only does it benefit the employer, because it makes the employee, because it makes the employee feel that they're working for an organisation who actually cares and supports them. From an employer point of view, there are a whole list of things that it helps us with as well. And if the benefits don't sway you, then the law might. So in terms of employment law, menstruation is much like menopause in that there's no specific right for paid leave for symptoms. So employees have to rely on sick pay provision. We know that Spain has recently introduced a right to paid leave for menstruation symptoms. And that's obviously an area that may come in the UK at some time in the future. So there's opportunity for reform there. But what we are seeing is that more and more employers are voluntarily offering this, which is definitely an advancement. Menstruation and menstrual health are not a protected characteristic under the Equality Act, but if a worker is put at a disadvantage and treated less favourably because of the symptoms related to menstruation and menopause, then that could relate to protected characteristics of sex, disability, gender reassignment, or any combination of those three. So you could potentially have a discrimination claim landing on your toe. And we know that painful symptoms such as endometritis, which I still can't say, and polycystic ovary syndrome can present really severe symptoms for people that would actually take them down that line of being considered as disabilities. If they meet that statutory test, which is, obviously, I'm sure you all know it, physical or mental impairment, and it has a substantial and long-term effect on somebody's ability to carry out their day-to-day activities. So what can we be doing? I think the first one for me is all about commitment. So a demonstration from leadership to create that menopause and menstruation friendly workplace, because that then sets the tone for the whole organisation. That commitment will involve acknowledging the importance of supporting employees through the life stages and making sure that resources are allocated to actually support policies, practices, and looking at how we can integrate menopause awareness and support into the overall diversity and inclusion efforts of the organisation. In terms of education, providing education and training for both managers and employees about these subjects is really critical for fostering understanding, empathy and awareness. And for us here, that's all about the internal resources that we've got. So we have a dedicated intranet page with a lot of material on it, a lot of links and toolkits and things that people can use. We make sure that we talk about the menopause even as early as induction. So as part of our induction process, we're talking about menopause in that. And again, badging it in the terms of it's not just women of a certain age, it's everybody that this is going to impact, whether it's because of your family members, your mums, your dads, your spouses, your friends. It will impact everybody, both sexes. But that education should also look at how you can cover not only the physical symptoms, but the emotional symptoms as well, and think about how it can impact work performance and the strategies that you need in place to support your colleagues. But very much by increasing awareness and by not being afraid to talk about this openly, you actually start to reduce stigma and create a more supportive employment area or employment for your employees, environment even for your employees. And support, so by offering practical support and accommodation, so that's where the reasonable adjustments come in. So we look at how we can use our reasonable adjustment process to support people, not just through disability, but through the menopause as well. So we have a dedicated checklist that we encourage people to go through that signposts people off to the different accommodations that they may be able to make. Our toolkit has information in about simple things that managers can do and employees can ask for to actually make their working day easier. But all of that is in place to help people carry on and to excel at work, because that's what we want people to do. We want people to manage their symptoms and be able to carry on doing a good job and be recognised for the job that they're doing. As I said earlier on, women are not defined by those symptoms. They've still got an awful lot to offer. It's a period of life that is not, we can't, it's not something that we ladies asked to have, or we asked to happen to us. It just comes. And when it comes, for some people, it comes with a massive bang that they really weren't expecting. You can look at how we can set up flexible working arrangements or medical resources, or as we've got a support group. So we've got a menopause support group run by ladies within the business, which is really active, and they organise regular coffee and chats. They all have a really active chat board where people share ideas, symptom checkers, all sorts of stuff. They also have arranged for people to come in and do seminars for our ladies as well, which has been absolutely brilliant. But adjustments to work environments can be something as simple as temperature control, or making sure that if you've got opening windows, if you're in a building like us, that you've got your ladies, that they've got the ability to sit next to a window where they can get fresh air when they need it. The other thing is about making sure you've got confidentiality and privacy for having any discussions that you need. So again, it's not something that people want to talk about in the middle of an open plan office. So making sure that you make the time. So if in your one-to-ones, check in, make sure that those things are confidential so that people feel that they're in the right environment to be able to talk about these things. But it's about for us, it's very much about how you can look at the support that we provide to commitment, so that we can see that we're demonstrating well-being for everybody. A couple of the other things that we've done, we try and include free period products in our toilets. Haven't managed to push that much beyond what Tyler at the moment, but we're looking at how we can do that. So there's a basket in the loos with just a message on, everybody gets caught short sometimes, please feel free to help yourself to anything from this basket to help. And the other one we're looking at introducing, and we just had our hooks delivered, is a black cardigan initiative, which is where you just hang black cardigans or dark cardigans or jumpers in the ladies' toilets. And that means that if somebody does have an accident, a flood, something that can be mightily embarrassing when you're walking back through an open plan office, they can tie that around their waists and just give themselves a bit of privacy and dignity whilst they get themselves sorted out. So it's about thinking about the initiatives that you can run that are cheap and cheerful, but that are really helpful. And what I've noticed is with the period products is when I'm forgetting to fill them up, when I haven't been off and done my shop and done it, people are now starting to do that themselves. So you're starting to go in and seeing somebody else will have popped in and filled the basket, which is lovely, because that's what you want it to be. You want it to be people taking a little bit of ownership for things as well. I guess last and by no means least, just wanted to touch on the andropause. The male menopause, which is sometimes called the andropause, is a pretty unhelpful term that is sometimes used in the media, and we think it's a misleading label, because what it's suggesting is that this happens as a result of a sudden drop in testosterone in middle age for men, and it's not true. Testosterone does drop, but it doesn't drop to the levels that would cause the symptoms of a menopause. So, but there are other things that are happening to men around about that age. So when you hear about men having midlife crisis, there are things that happen. So men's mental health, quite often it's that point at which men are realizing, as we all do, that you've got to the middle point of your life, and you're at the halfway stage, and so people start to see stress, depression, anxiety, perhaps some physical symptoms as well. Smoking will cause heart disease, poor diet, lack of exercise, those sorts of things will all cause similar kinds of symptoms to the menopause in women. And I think what I would say is really important, as with anything, if you are experiencing, so if you are a man and you are experiencing those symptoms, you really should go and see a GP. They will ask you about your personal life to see if there are any mental health linked issues in that area. They may also do a blood test to test your testosterone levels, but as a standalone thing, the drop in testosterone is unlikely to cause any problems in their on their own, not in the same way as it does for women.